somebody, if they do no points, they're probably going to give you a higher interest rate. And that could be for your ability to have more money on the front end as you close the property and do improvements. Instead of giving them the money for the points, they say, hey, we'll just raise your interest, we'll raise your interest on it, and that will be spread out over the life of the loan. It's probably going to be more that you're paying, but again, if you're leveraging yourself and you're saying, I want to be more cash heavy as I enter a deal, then you're going to say, hey, if we can negotiate no points, let's do that. And you guys make money on the back end, because these relationships with lenders they're your partners. So how can we negotiate this relationship in which you feel you're comfortable with the terms and I feel I'm comfortable with the terms? If it makes sense to you, it makes sense to them, you got yourself a deal. And I say you got yourself a deal because what a deal is depends on your buy box. Everybody's going to have a different variation of what they consider a deal. So it's very important to understand what you're trying to achieve from the entry, from a middle standpoint, and the exit in your story. So my good people charge me 1.5%. The 1.5% means of the purchase price, they're going to charge me 1.5% to be able to process that loan, get it bundled up, and get it closed out. What's 1.5% of 270, Gerald?
2,850.
2,850. 2,850. You sure?
Yep.
2,850. Okay. You're right about that. 2,850. Sorry about that.
No, you're sure.
The coffee hasn't kicked in. So for them to process my loan, run my credit, and get me ready to go over the hill and close out the loan so I can do my work, this is a flat fee right here. Sometimes they have an additional fee with this. They call it a flat fee. That could be for an appraisal. That could be for the processor. I usually see that around like $1,500, right? But for the sake of this, we'll leave that out. So just to even get the loan over the hill is $2,850. The rate I was able to achieve on this was a 9%. It goes back to relationships that we talked about previously. When I speak with people that are doing deals right now in the investment standpoint, and as they leverage themselves with hard money lenders, I'm hearing 9.5 to 12. I have a property in Marin County that was a 12, but that's heavy lifting. That purchase price and rehab is over $1 million. So they're saying to position ourselves and to be your partner. We want a little bit more because probably there's more risk. So that was a 12% interest rate. I was cool with that. That was a deal for me. I understood my buy box. I understood what it was going to take me to get it over the hill. And if it made sense at exit for my story, I began identifying the deal, getting the right lending terms, the construction, the improvement, the market, and then on my exit, if I feel like I'm making enough money, then it's a deal for me, whether it's 12%, 13%, whoever will loan the money. And most people are a little slower to loan money at deals over $500,000. They like the small ones, the 350s and 450s, because if the asset doesn't perform and there becomes an issue, the money that they're out on it has less risk. And with $1 million, you can do 3 loans. This one for 300,000, this one for 300,000, this one for 300,000. So if I had $1 million and I was loaning it, I'm hedging my bets. I'm leveraging myself. I'll give a loan to Justin, a loan to Gerald, and a loan to Jake. If Jake doesn't perform, at least Gerald and Justin still are performing, and I can still get my money back because of whatever they're doing. They did their math. They're doing the right thing. $1 million, that's a lot of risk. And if Jake messes it up, they'll lose it all, right? So that's some of the reasons you can understand why they would charge more points, why they would be a little more hesitant to make a loan like that, or why they would want to charge more. We'll do the loan, but we want a little bit more. And then, so when we look at the rate, I was able to, on this one, achieve a 9, but for the sake of argument, let's just go with 10%, right? Because I consider that average right now, right? So we're going through the story. So purchase price was $270,000. Rehab was $50K. Down payment was $80,000. The loan amount after the down payment was $190,000. The points was 1.5% of the purchase price at a rate of 10%. So again, what we're solving for is what are these interest costs that we're going to incur as we're navigating the loan? Because this is one of the costs, the hard costs, the rehab costs, that's one of the expenses that you're going to have. Now, for the sake of argument, I'm not selling the property, but if I was selling it, I had already looked at my comps, right? And the comps in that area was arranged. So the comps in that area for a duplex ranged between $400K and 440. Okay. Again, for me, I know my exit strategy. I'm keeping the property. One of the things I'll dive into is I think about keeping the property. When I look at duplexes and I say whether I'm going to keep it or not, plus I got it vacant, I knew immediately once I closed on the property, the small house in the back, it needed very minimal work. So what I did is I went in, did the work about $5,000, put some countertops in, did some painting, and then I quickly put a tenant in there for $1,000. So understand that when your properties are vacant, you're running negative. You have a interest only payment, meaning when you do hard money, these payments are interest only. None of that money goes down to the buy down of your note. And so with these expenses, you want to move faster because 1 month, 2 months, I think and we'll get into it, the payment on this is like $1,700 So if I go 3 months of everything vacant, that's already 17, 24. That's about $7,200 in 3 months, $6,200 in 3 months that I have to pay out. And I'm still having improvements. I'm still having labor costs. I'm still having credit card payments, whatever it shall be. So when I look at duplexes, if I can get somebody in quickly, that $1,000 off the $1,700 a month, you take off the $1,000. Now my payment is $700 a month. And I'm always trying to hedge my bets. If I have multiple properties that I'm working on, or I don't always have the cash flow or the income coming in, where do I come up with these payments? And then I have personal expenses. I have a mortgage myself. I have a family. I have cars. I have gas, whatever it shall be. So to take on another expense for myself of $1,700 a month, that could be a big number. So that's one of the key things I encourage you guys to look at is vacancies when you're doing flip properties. So as I'm in the duplex, I got the $1,000 a month. I know I have to improve the front unit just as quickly as I improve the front unit. Then I have some positive cash. The unit in the front, I'm renting that for $2,000. So that's $2,000 plus $1,000 out back. That's $3,000. My payment every month is $17,000. I think that's pretty fair. There's some fallacies in there because when you do hard money, it doesn't include your property tax in that. It doesn't include your home insurance, right? So there's some other expenses, water, sewage, and garbage. So it's not like I just take the $3,000 and then I subtract the $17,000. It's not that easy. There's some other expenses in there, but I'm still cash flowing and I'm still leveraging myself and hedging my bets. On an exit, here's one other thing I want to add when you're acquiring duplexes on a flip. Very good assets to grab if you can get them for a good deal. One of the things I always look at is when I'm flipping a property, I buy a duplex, hope I get it vacant. If not, I got to get them out. But if I rent one of the units, right, one of the doors, I rent one of them, and I keep one vacant, I'm probably going to want to keep the better one, the larger one, the more ideal one vacant if I'm considering selling. Because what happens is when I remodel everything and I put one person in the back, now you have active income coming from that property. So your debt or your monthly expenses are offset because of that. But when I put it on the market, whether it be FHA or conventional, as you all know, when somebody applies for that loan, a lender will allow them to use 70% of the income of one of the units. So they're going to say, all right, Jake, we want to move into the front, right? We're approved for $350,000. We're not too concerned about the second unit. If you have somebody in there, we'll be able to take that rental agreement, give it to our lender. And if you're making $1,000 off that property, that means our lender is going to give us $700 that go down to our bottom line of our pre-approval. So essentially, they have a second job that brings in $700 a month. They can either offset their debt and or improve their ability and purchase power for the property. So I like those strategies when I'm looking at property. It's a win-win for me. It's a win-win for me on the exit. And then it's a win-win for a buyer that is looking to, like I said, increase their pre-approval amount by the way of having that additional income. So here's where we're at. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you jot them down, because a lot of times you guys have questions that I probably wasn't thinking about or somebody else in the group was thinking about. So even if you know the answer, jot it down. That way at the end when we connect, we'll make some sense of it. So where are we? What we're trying to find out is the interest rate now, right? So what we'll do is this. Gerald, put this in your phone, will you please? Let's go 270,000 times 10.
27,000.
All right. So we're taking the purchase price. Let's go here. We're going to take the purchase price of 270. And we're going to multiply that by the interest rate, right? And what does that give us?
27,000.
27,000. 27,000. Okay. Now, this 27,000 is what the interest will be paid for on an annual basis. So $27,000 a year. If you kept this property for 12 months, you'd be paying them $27,000. Who's them? The hard money lender. But as we know, whether it's a flip or a hold, at some point we're going to refinance out of it. And we're trying to put ourselves in a position in which we can lessen the time that we're in the property or the project. That way, we lessen the amount of money we're paying out. So for me, I was able to get this project done in about 2 months. But again, for the sake of argument, let's say it took me 4 months. So we do 27,000 divided by 12. What is that, Gerald?
2,250.
Matter of fact, you said by 12 months is how much?
2,250.
You know what? I got some. Go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, it'd be 2,250.
2,250. Okay.
I have a quick question. Wouldn't we do the 10% by 190?
I was gonna go there. I messed up. I was gonna ask you guys what did I do wrong? Okay. I messed up. So say that again, Gerald.
Yeah, the 10% you go based off the 190,000 because that's what the hard money lender is.
Correct. So although this is the purchase price, that's not what we borrowed, and we're only paying interest on what we borrowed. So Justin, how much did we borrow again?
190.
We borrowed 190, right? So the interest that we're going to be paying for is on the 190. So actually, it's 190 by 10 times 10. And what is that, Gerald?
19,000.
That's 19,000. So annually, the interest that's paid on this loan is 19,000. We're going to divide it by 12 months. 12 months is going to give us the amount that we're paying per month. What's that number, Gerald?
1,584.
Okay, so and forgive the word
1,584.
584. So this is what it is monthly. So on a monthly basis, to the hard money lender, we're making a payment of $1,584 a month. That's the check that has to be cut. That doesn't include taxes. That doesn't include property insurance as well, right? Or water, sewage, and garbage. So if you take the 280, right? That's the 2,850. Those are the points that we're going to pay on the front end. And then we look at the interest and carry every month. That's 1,584. If we had that for 4 months, how much are we in debt for?
6,333.
6,333. So we have $6,333. That's just in a 4-month period, right?
Yeah.
So if we kept the property for 4 months, in interest alone, we'd be paying $6,333. We also have a hard cost, that's an upfront cost when we close on a loan of a 1.5% underwriting fee for $2,850. So Gerald, let's add that up. 633 plus 2,850.
You got 9,184.
So we have points plus interest payment, and that's going to be 4 months. Points were how much again, Gerald?
Points is 2,850.
2,850 plus
Interest.
interest for 4 months was 6,333.
Yep.
$6,333. What does that give us?
And that totals up to 9,184.
Nine-
I'm rounding up. It's yeah,
Give it to me one more time.
9,184.
Okay. And then how much did we put inside the property as well?
50K plus 80.
Okay.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah, improvements was 50K. So that gives us a math of 60 grand, essentially. So $60,000 of what we'll have in that property before we can get it over the hill. Purchase price was 270. We pumped in 50. We put our points and rates. So our all-in cost on that property, our all-in cost is 60K, right? So then what we're looking at right now is whether or not we solve for a few things. We solve for the interest payment, how much that would be per month, and then we multiply that by the number of months that we're going to be inside the loan. We also identified an additional expense, which was the 1.5 of the underwriting fee from the lender. Then we also looked at our projected improvements. I thought I was going to spend 40, I ended up spending 50. Okay. So all in, we're at 60K. If I bought it for 270, purchase price 270. Right? Improvements, lending fees, and interest were 60. What does that have to say, Gerald?
330,000.
330. Okay, does anybody remember where I alleged the comps were going to be at?
400 for 40?
Yeah, between 400. 1 second. So my comps that I achieved, now this was, remember it's a story, right? There's a beginning, a middle, and end. When I first identified the property, there was a lot of things I was trying to achieve. I was trying to see if there was any other offers. I wanted to see what I can get it for. You can't mess this up. I wanted to see what the comps were going to be on the exit. I always knew I was going to keep the property. I was going to add this to my portfolio because I saw the benefits of being able to leverage 2 units. Also on the property is a small garage. And as you guys know, I do a lot of remodels. So what I did is as I was renting the back unit, I rented the back unit. That back unit never even had the expectation of utilizing the garage. Then the front unit, because it's a detached garage, when I was writing up the lease and marketing the property, one of the gentlemen said, "Hey man, do we have access to the garage?" I said, "Man, the garage doesn't come included in the lease. So let me know if the garage is a deal maker for you. This may not be the asset for you, the property for you." He said, No, I don't need the garage. I was just curious. So with this garage, I utilized it to put tools in there. I just did a Lowe's run yesterday that I'm working on a property, again, in Marin that I told you guys about. My guys aren't leaving until 6 o'clock Monday morning, but I need to get the materials in advance. I got insulation, I got flooring, I got a lot of stuff, right? So I was able to take it from Lowe's and put it in this garage. Also, this is on a big lot, so I have trailers, right? I was able to take my trailers, I take them and drop them off. I leave my trailers at this property as well. Park my trailer all the way to the garage. Nobody can break in. I'm secure. Trailer's locked up. So outside of the cash flow, outside of the depreciation, outside of the mortgage buy down, all these are tools that you utilize and you see in real estate investing. Outside of all of those, an average storage for the size that I need is probably about $250 a month. And after about 6 months, they'll raise it. And the inconvenience, because they open at like 6 o'clock in the morning and close at like 7. There's locks on them. You can't go at certain times. And they may not be located in my path of success on a daily basis. So just having this garage alone, from a cost standpoint of storage, $250, right? But I give it way more value than that because I get the garage, I get to put my trailers on there. For me, I would pay $1,000 a month for that type of convenience, for me. But I don't. But that's one of those things about real estate investing we have to really look at is it's not always about the numbers. It's not always about the cash flow. It is about the value. It's the value of an asset. And people buy homes based off their perceived value. When you put a property on the market, it's not about how much it costs or what really others cost. It's what is the value that somebody else sees in it and what are they willing to pay. So not only am I cash flowing on this property already, I get the convenience of the garage. and storing my assets, right? Which is great. And those are the high yielding things about real estate investing that I always like to gain from, but also preach and tell my story of what works for me and what doesn't. So when looking at the comps, on the low end, you guys know how I roll. I always like to roll conservatively. I like to overpromise and overdeliver to 440. Right? This is the range. Real estate goes in a range. You have, just like our story, beginning, middle, and end. Real estate goes on the low end. Then you see this average range, and then you see on the high end, depending on a few things like market condition of the property, economic conditions, and what end consumers are looking at when they find value in the property, right? So if I'm all in right now at 330, I put it on the market, I'll get 400K. I know that for sure, minimum. But there's a chance that I could do a home run and essentially gain $110,000. Now, if I put it back on the market, I probably have to do a multiplier of about 9% to factor in commissions, title, escrow, transfer fees. There's fees that take place when you're selling the property, right? So I have to plug in a 9% number. Gerald, what's 9% of four? Let's go with the low end, 440.
40,000.
Is that 40?
Yeah, you said 440 or the low end?
Forgive me, 400.
Yeah.
What is that? Did you say 40,000 for 400?
For 400, it's 36,000.
36,000. This is one I see people miss all the time. When they're underwriting their deals, they miss this every single time. There are fees that take place in selling a property. So I'll see somebody analyze a deal, and they won't factor in the cost of selling a home. So if 330 is my all in, and I add 36, that really has me at 366,000. But still, if I sold it for 400 on the low end, I'm telling you guys, I'm not just biased. I knocked that property out the park. I've done everything to it on a small budget, and I negotiated a good deal on the front end. Plus, I'm a real estate agent, so I'd be listing the property myself on the sale. Somebody else would bring me a client on the buy, right? So the numbers for me, how I position myself, value, people look at cash flow, they look at the cost. Is there value in me being a real estate agent? Is there value in me flipping property and negotiating property? Well, one of the things about flipping property, if I decide to sell it, is as a flipper, as an investor, you begin to create your own inventory. So when things get slow, if you're always flipping, we're always raising capital. If and when you do that, when things get slow, you're still out there making money, saving money because you're representing yourself. You still have marketing material. You still have an ability to negotiate and get in front of other agents. One of the things that benefit me so much from flipping properties, when I do put them on the market, I always try my best to do a great job of flipping. But I connect with agents that probably I've never worked with before and or never accepted my offer before. So that's always a good time. Back to value like trailers and value like the detached garage. There's a value in connecting with agents that are sending offers to the property you're going to make money off of. Property you have deduction from expenses. There's something called imaginary loss. You guys Google that, right? And then there's value for my ability to use it as a time to ingratiate myself and connect with other agents that are doing big business. Hopefully do a deal with them. And just, you know, how that goes, you know, today me, tomorrow you, right?
No, for sure. That's value within itself, like you said, just be able to create those relationships.
So the speed in which you can be successful in real estate investing, one, not only did you put it on the market and you let them know I flipped the property, what you're doing as eight agents come communicate with you and write offers, you're letting them know on a phone call as you're kind of negotiating it that, hey, I flip property. So if you ever come across a listing that you think I might be interested in, let me know. When they see the property, they're gonna say, Justin, you've done a great job with this property. And very likely, like I said, you could do a good deal. I just closed one on Friday. A property of mine, did it with an agent, and great agent. Actually, agents in our community. This happened to be the agent's first deal. It was a beautiful thing. I got multiple offers. The agent is in our community. The agent's working their tail off. I think I got about 9 offers on that deal. I went with that agent's offer for sure. It's my house, I can pick, right? Got that agent and that deal mastery student their first contract, got it closed. They got paid. I made a little bit of money myself on the deal, and I made a further connection. And that's one of the powers of Deal Mastery 101 is if that agent had sent me an offer previously, I never would have even looked at it. No, I would have looked at it. It wasn't my strongest offer. But we made the right concessions and right negotiations to make sure that agent and that Deal Mastery community member got the offer accepted, and boom, got that thing over the hill. Back to value. You'll always hear me preach value, right? So that was actually a win. I should have talked about that earlier. One of the wins, one of our Deal Mastery students got their first deal over the hill. Boom!
Let's go.
Come on. They got their deal over the hill, and that was magical, okay? So if I decided to exit this property at this point, I still make money. But the entirety of this actual discussion wasn't about whether I could make money or not make money. We want to lay down some high-level strategies about real estate deal mastery. That's what this is always about. But I also want you guys to know the quick math of understanding how to really analyze a deal, because we talk about it a lot. There's a variety of deal analyzers. There's a multifamily analysis in which you're looking largely at the operations of the property, whether there's vacancies, the improvements, right? The staffing, the property management, those expenses, identifying the NOI, right? That's from a multifamily standpoint. Then you look from a rental standpoint, whether a property makes a good rental or not. And so when you're going through an analysis like this simple data, this is called back of the napkin math. The simple data that you can extract from this can determine and let you know on the front end whether it makes sense to be a rental or not. Many clients that I saw early on in real estate, and even work with some real estate agents, right, that don't understand investment properties. One of the things I hear is they'll say, this is a great property. It's a great investment. It has good bones. Imagine what it'll be in 30 years. But as Deal Mastery students, we're not necessarily trying to hedge just for 30 years. We're trying to get a good deal now, because you get a good deal on the buy. So we want good points on the front end, whether it be cash flow, whether it be location, whatever your buy box is. We want it now, and we want to grow into the future as rents increase, as values increase, as mortgage payments from your renters buy down the house. The mortgage buy down is the biggest thing you can really get. Second to that would be like a cost segregation, tax deduction. But these are some of the high level things we're looking at. But if we can't do simple math like this, we're going to have a struggle getting into a deal, having the confidence to get into a deal, or you get into a deal and it's a bad deal. And I never want anybody in Deal Mastery to get into a bad deal. We don't do that. We don't get into bad deals, and we don't buy market rate deals, because we're investors, and a lot of us are real estate agents, and our experience continues to increase. Market value properties are great properties for consumers. But when we're investors, it's called a home run out the park. We want a good deal. We want good negotiations. We want good rates. We want to borrow money on the right terms. We want to have a great exit strategy. We want to be able to leverage ourselves through things like duplexes, and that's not the end all be all, right? Single families do great too. But we want to win on the front end, the middle, and the end, just like the story. So from the beginning to the ninth inning, any investor, especially in this community, as you grow your knowledge and we tell ourselves the story of how we're going to invest and what we're looking for when we try to invest, when we invest, that story should be defined by a great deal, because we're mastering the art of great deals. That's what I really have straightforward. So to go back over it, we identified a property. We identified some value, some highest best use of a property. We identified how to determine the interest rate. We identified what are the average terms that we're seeing in the current market regarding interest rates and regarding points that we're seeing variety of lenders charge. Because we talked last week, I believe it was last week when Jason was on the line, we talked about how not only to negotiate and be a referral partner to gain value, right? Well, when we're gaining value, one of the things, because hard money lenders and private money lenders, they're in business too. So one of the things we need to know is when we call them and say, yeah, I'm looking at a deal, man, and how many points do you guys charge? a lot of people don't know the points, and they don't know they get pushed in there because we understand points. That's a true expense. That's some thousands, right? We need to know the points, and we need to know how the rate affects our loan amount and how long we're going to have the property for. Do we think we're going to have this 4, 5, 6 months? And do that calculation on the front end, get those expenses on the front end and factor them all in as we're looking at our exit strategy and we're looking at what the comps look like. If you let some of this data creep out the back door, what you think is a good deal is not a good deal. I have conversations where people say, hey, Jake, I found a deal. I want you to look at it. I want to be a partner with you. Okay, what is it going for? Man, I think I can get it for $300,000. Well, what are the comps? The comps are about $360,000. I already know it's not a good deal. I can tell you how long you think it'll take to flip it. I think like we can get it done in 2 or 3 months. Well, I know with points and I know with the cost of interest, there's no money there. And then we also got to look at our closing costs, that 9% number. We got to look at that. It's not a good deal. So by knowing this back of the napkin math, we can quickly close out. That's not a deal. That's not a deal. That's not a deal. And go deep dive and analyzing things that may be deals. Okay. What I want to do is I want to open it up for Q&A. Instagram, you're more than welcome. Go ahead and drop something in the comment section. I'll make sure Trey reads it out to us. Deal Master 101, I appreciate you guys, man. Our group continues to get bigger. And I hope I'm bringing value, like the trailer, like the garage. I hope so. But without further ado, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Come on, Justin.
So you mentioned that this deal, you were going to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to sell it, it's still penciled out.
Yes.
So being that you had a hard money loan on it,
mm-hmm.
are you refinancing it?
Correct.
And using a burst strategy on this for the long-term hold, or what is the?
Good question. Good question. So I'm currently still in a hard money phase. And in short, when you're doing multiple deals, I have no problem with hard money relationships because they're a year, right? My 30-year plan, my larger plan, it doesn't bother me in the least bit. What I'm probably waiting for right now, I know rates are moving. The truth, let me be transparent. I got other stuff going on. And what I'm getting on the rents, it's just going cash out, boom, straight to the lender. Cash out, straight to the lender. The property stable, I was there last night, like I said, putting in the insulation. I'm not even thinking about this property right now, to be honest with you. I'm probably making $400 or $500 a month in cash flow on it. And because I know how I operate, how I learn, when I get to like October, November, I'll figure something out. Hopefully rates drop, but I'm not waiting on rates. I'm just kind of busy, and it's paying for itself. But yes, but more specific about Burr. Burr's concept is very similar to what I'm doing, but Burr's, I think the bottom line for Burr is like you're pulling all your money out. And if I was to pull all my money out, if I was to pull out the I think it was 70,000. If I was to pull out the 50 that I have in, right? If I was to pull out some of the clothing costs I had on the front end and this $9,000 number, right? If I was to pull out, so that's about 70 grand. If I was to pull out 70 grand and my down payment, so 80 plus 70, that's 150. It probably wouldn't pencil out as far as the rental. I'm just barely there right now. So it wouldn't burr, but I could refinance it and it would make sense. Yes. I could probably pull out 50 and I'll be comfortable with where the mortgage is. Again, it's easy to make the money, but keep it is what we always say, right? It's not about how much you make, but how much you keep. And so I always know in the back of my head, yeah, real estate could be fruitful right now, but what happens when things change, right? Do I want to cut a check for $3 grand a month and somebody's not paying in the back or somebody's not paying in the front? As you guys are driving around your neighborhoods, you're going to see a lot more rental signs out. You got on Zillow, there's more rental inventory. Rents are starting to flatten, and if anything, they're starting to soften a little bit. So yes, I can pull the money out, but for me, I like to be in a $1,700 a month type of position because it's not so much I can easily come up with that. But if I fell on bad times, my tenants aren't paying, and I fell behind, and I said, Justin, what's going on? Look, hey, I got a mortgage of $1,700 due. Can you loan me $700? Justin, $700 based off our relationship is doable. But if I refinance and pull all the money out, it was $3,100. I would need, let's say, half of it. Justin, I need 15. I need 2,000. I don't like being in that position, but I think hopefully, I know I can call 3 or 4 people for $700, maybe 3 months in a row. $700, $800 to help you leverage these risks. And I don't know what that'll look like, but that's why I'm a little more conservative.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anybody else got a question? Instagram, any questions? Jacob, what's going on, brother?
Hey, I got a question for when you mention interest only payment. Does that mean that there are some hard money that don't charge points? Is that what you mean by interest only payment?
No, I'll clarify. Forgive me. So when you have a relationship with a hard money lender or a loan with a hard money lender, anything that they charge is anything that you're paying. When you look at what you borrow and that monthly payment for a standard loan, part of it would be the interest would go down to the bank, and part of it will pay down your mortgage. Right? Early on in the beginning, a bit about. So let's say $1,000 a month your mortgage. When you first get a loan, $900 is interest. $100 goes down to your payment, and it's amortized over the life of the loan over 30 years. The deeper you get to the loan, the more of the principal you pay. But with hard money, you're not paying any principal. It's a business transaction. We're giving you a loan. When you get loans, you can use it for anything. But this is a real estate loan. None of that goes down to the principal. This is all a business transaction. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, so hard money is typically interest only.
Almost every time.
Every time, okay.
Every time.
When you're paying principal, then obviously you're paying more. So it's you prefer to do interest only.
Say that. Ask me that again. I want to make sure I answer correctly.
Yes. So when there's principal involved in the payment,
right?
Obviously, you're paying more.
Right.
So it's more of not a loss, but you would prefer the interest only.
Well, not necessarily. When you're working with a bank, what they're giving you a credit. They're saying of what you're paying to us, some of it's going to pay down to your principal, and that's a good thing. But with hard money lenders, you're not getting that is a business expense, so it's a cost. So if you had a mortgage with the principal portion of it being paid, very likely your loan will still be the same. Just a portion of that money you're paying every month will go down to the principal. With hard money, they're saying, listen, we're not giving any of that to your principal. But you're right, your payment would be a little bit more.
Okay.
One of the things I see too that's very important is that when you're utilizing the hard money loan 6, 7, 8 months, depending on what county you're in, again, you're not getting the property tax bills. For a property like this, they're going to reassess it. In like Stockton, Sacramento, it's like a 1 1/4. So you multiply this by 1 1/4, and you'd have property taxes due every year. That could be about $3,000, right? $1,800 biannually. Well, because they don't take that out, what happens is you'll get a bill after you close a property. I can't tell you how many times I've closed a property, and I got in my mailbox that I owe City of Sacramento $3,100. I'm like, I don't owe you guys any money, and sure enough, I didn't factor that payment in, or at least I didn't think about it, because in your standard loans you have you have an impound account, which all of these expenses and reserves come out of this account and they distribute them. With hard money, that's not the case. So you have to take back the business mindset and be responsible and say, hey, these costs can be hidden in business. And the better we get at analyzing the deals, the more we're reminded of these costs and we can attack it appropriately.
I got it. Okay.
Because in fairness, if I keep this property for 6 months, I owe the city some property taxes of about $1,500. So you have to add that $1,500 goes to the bottom line. So whatever, if I'm selling for $400,000, I have to input that in there. Leo, you got a question for me? Ulysses, what's going on? Michael.
Yeah, I got a question. So, like, whenever you're coming up with your max allowable offer, what numbers are you putting in? Are you doing ARV times 75% minus repair costs? Or what?
I see 75% being utilized by a lot of people. For me, I don't use that average when looking at deals. It might be something that I think it works for a lot of people. A lot of my buddies use it. You really utilize what you go for what you know. For me, I've always analyzed deals like really in my head, but even on paper, I've always analyzed deals like this. Because it's a little more comfortable for me. But I would recommend the pen to pad method, because when you use a 75% metric, or you use the they're like software out there, Excel sheets that you can use, right? They could be a bit daunting, and or you won't know the numbers, the inputs in them for them to give you the right data. For me, learning this way has allowed me to use software out there like this. Click, click, click. I know about vacancies. I know about CapEx. I know about property management fees. I know about, I might have already said vacancies. These are things you have to know. And when you use, from my experience, when you use the Excel sheets or the calculators that are out there, you can input the data, but you really don't understand the story. And for me, I'm not always very quick at things. It takes me a while to achieve the understanding. Once I understand, then I'm comfortable with it. But when I'm uncomfortable, I tend not to do things. And so this has allowed me to be very comfortable, which allows me to do the things that probably would be a little more challenging, a little bit different. So really the fundamentals.
Okay. Perfect.
Michael, you got a question? Okay, look, we have about 4 minutes. I want to run a question by the deal mastery course. IG, you're in on this too. If you have a response, want to drop it in the comment section. So right now, as you dive into your first deal, many of you are closer than you think, and we're ramping up some things with deal mastery. Me and Trey are doing some heavy lifting, just trying to make sure we bring you the right assets, tools, and people, and even hopefully we can even have some wholesalers bring us some deals, right? That we can help you guys get through some deals, because that's what's important to us. How many of you are looking to make your first property a rental and or a flip? Okay, so let me ask that again, because I had hands. So who's looking for your next property to be your first rental or owner occupied? Raise your hand. Who's looking? Okay, Jacob, that's you. Who's looking for the next property to be a flip? There we go. Okay, and I'll encourage this. Understand your journey. Understand your buy box. I got you, Michael. There's nothing wrong with hard money lending. There's nothing wrong with paying taxes on capital gains. You'll see people make these fears about the culture of it. Some way, somehow, you have to get this income coming in. As soon as you get into one deal, you just saw how much money we're pumping in, and this was a great deal, right? Some of these deals you're pumping in $170,000. So now you have 170 into a property that you have all pumped in, and for you to refinance it or flip it, you're going to leave so much money in a deal, and that's fine if it works for you, right? But my whole philosophy is this: create an engine that continues to chug and chug and chug. Pay your capital gains, chug, chug, chug. Get your experience, right? Look at the time value of money. If you leave 170 to a deal for 30 years or 15 years or 10 years, it can't perform the same way. You can make it flip through other deals. Also, it's not even so much about always getting into other deals. When you have access to your own capital, you can put fires out. In real estate investing comes with so much risk. You'll run into things that don't work out for you. You'll run into things where you catch a thorn. You'll run into things where the IRS pinches your account and says, hey, we want to do a further review. And if you're not liquid, you can't overcome these hurdles. And so most of the people that I've seen become very successful in real estate, very few have got it like early on, 3, 4, 5 years. What I've learned is the safest bet to do, or the more reasonable thing to scale, is to flip. And if you get a great deal, what would be a great deal? A great deal would be for yourself, you're liquid in some aspect, or your access to capital, your girl has some money, your mom has some money, you're working with deal mastery people, so money is accessible, your experience is there, and then you get a great deal like this, where what you had to put into the deal is $50K. Some other expenses as well, right? But if you keep the deal and refinance out of it, not much will change in your journey. It won't slow your journey back. And money can slow your journey back right now. So we speed this up. We get our experience, the value up. we get the right properties, and the right properties look like you get it for a killer discount. What you put into the property to improve the property was probably minimal. So your all-in cost as opposed to the value of the property is a huge gap. You have equity in this property. That's something I would hang on to. But for me, I'm not hanging on to a property that has 50K on the bone. I'm not doing that. Another thing I'm not doing, if I'm looking for my first deal, is I'm not looking at properties that take heavy lifting. Fire properties, properties that need half a demo. I'm looking at properties that I can get in and get out. The value is minimizing your risk. I'm looking for properties that I can have certainty to the best degree as I put them over the hill. The worst thing you want to get in is do activities that are extra risky, because we're already going to take risks because we've already signed up for this. We're going to become deal masters, but be very careful of the things that need extra heavy lifting. And the last thing I'll tell you too is be careful about don't do what I do. Don't be me, be better than me. Early on, I got into the real estate trying to do a lot of the renovations myself, and it was a blessing because I happen to know a few things about improvements and raising foundations, things of that nature. But we're always about buying back our time, making a scalable model. Our job is to go to our 9 to 5s. Our job is to go to our jobs and continue to make that money, keep in that 1099 W-2 income, but buy properties that allow us to employ the right people to get it over the hill. We can go check in, but still make money. Don't become the guy that picks up the hammer. That's my advice, but to each his own, all right? I have a podcast come on today at 11 with some good talent, man. Some really, my guy PJ out of Tracy, he runs a meetup in Tracy. Him and his brother and his cousin is doing great stuff. Me, him, Trey, we're going to do a podcast about just some high-level stuff. PJ's dope in real life, a gentleman, a great guy. Gerald, I know you know him. Justin, I'm not sure if you met him. Jacob, do you know PJ?
Yeah, I know all of them.
Okay, you know all of them, right? Michael, Ulysses, they're from your neighborhood as well, so you should get connected with them as well. But we're going to be going live here at 11 o'clock. It's going to be a freaking amazing podcast. I know, because I know Trey. He's dropping bars every time. And I know PJ, very graceful individual, very, very knowledgeable. And his success is very, very fast because of experience and his commitment to the game and also the people he surrounds himself in his community. So that'll be going down at 11. Who's coming to the event on the 29th, the Deal Mastery event? Anybody? Everybody? Somebody? Here we go. You're in there. Justin, we want to see you there. Michael, we want to see you there. Leo, we want to see you there. You said you coming, Justin? You coming, Justin? Okay. Cool. That's gonna be it's gonna be a killer event. I promise you guys, I won't let you down. That's what we have going on. Without further ado, we're 2 minutes past. I'll see you guys at 11. And for those of you who can't make it, I'll see you then. Oh man, bye Instagram. Not bad for somebody else on 4 hours of sleep, huh?
Not bad.
I mean, it could be better. I wasn't better, right?
Good job.
No, actually, 4 hours of sleep training. Remember that 3 hours and 40 minutes. So.